welcome back to Robot Wars with a new YouTuber and their 8 machines ready to fight in the war zone. And from a YouTuber who's no stranger to robot combat. That's right, it's the host of Antweight Anarchy and Mecha Mayhem himself, TwoPennyMilk. So let's see which bots he's come with and how they'll do. And TwoPennyMilk's heat looks very promising with Antweight Anarchy champions of Series 1 Smitzy up against Nexus, who won virtually everything else, barring Series 3, which was won by the Flipper of Apollo, who will be taking on Foxic, the machine that TwoPennyMilk loves a lot for some bloody reason. Tornado with its ramming power and front blade up against Bucky the Rebooted, who saw them before in the last battle of the YouTubers. And Rasa flipping power up against the swinging thwackbot of iconic Sting. Now let chaos commence! Smitzy Rambot. They won Series 1 of Antweight Anarchy and have had their own level of success in Robot Wars, especially on Spike Prime, where they've made the Death or Glory 3 times in a row. The front lifting wedge gives the machine great pushing power as well as good damage with the rear flywheel, and the sides are designed to prevent the machine from getting stuck on its side, but the wheels are exposed and it's very easy to flip over where the wedge isn't as effective. Nexus Flipper. They had won pretty much every single trophy apart from Series 3 of Antweight Anarchy, but never really had the same level of success in Robot Wars, which honestly does kinda suck. It's honestly an impressive machine with a good flipper and even mimics the drive of its Antweight counterpart. But now that there's a CO2 concern for the flipper which will run out, and they claim it's too quick for its own good.
Roboteers, stand by.
How many times have these two machines clashed with each other? Smitzy with the lifting wedge and the rear spinning blade, and Nexus with the CO2 powered flipper.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Mother of all grudge matches this, as Nexus already underneath Smitzy and trying to flip them up and over, but are unable to do so this time around. Smitzy slamming into the wall and now getting underneath Nexus, and Nexus now thrown up and over and flips self-rights and throws Smitzy up and over as well. Look at this. That's brilliant. Self-rights as they flip Smitzy up and over at the same time. That's incredible. And now Smitzy to slam into Nexus with the spinning blade, and off comes a wheel! A wheel of Nexus is gone! And that's gonna seriously affect the drive! Because, it's only a 2-wheel drive machine! With that wheel gone, they can only drive in a circle as Smitzy now comes in with the flywheel. And it's not very often we see the flywheel in action! And off comes the other wheel! The other wheel's gone! Nexus is now completely immobilized! And now Smitzy, finally, about to get their revenge on Nexus. Every time they have fought, Nexus has come out on top. But this time around, it's Smitzy who will be getting the victory. And Smitzy almost won it in the Ultimate Showdown special, don't forget. And there goes the floor flipper, not the greatest flipper. It's thrown them both over. Only Nexus is up and over though. Smitzy lands right side up. Smitzy now about to dispatch of Nexus down the pit. Nexus, they crash out here into the pit. And Smitzy with a great victory and a well-deserved victory. They finally get their vengeance as Nexus crash out. And it's Smitzy heading on through to the next round. Congratulations to Smitzy as they spin into light. And Nexus, sadly, will have to pick up the wheels, pick up the machine, and pick up their travel bags. Well done to Smitzy. Finally gets their vengeance and defeats Nexus. A great victory for them. Next up, Apollo and Foxic. Apollo Flipper. The front launcher has a lot of power behind it, meaning it can literally launch machines high into the air. It can even launch itself into the air when it rights itself. Despite the limited gas supply, they'll have enough flips in them to end the fight very quick. That is, unless the rear exposed wheels get taken out. Foxic! Rambot! Craig Danby is no stranger to robot combat, neither is Foxic. It's appeared in many fights at robot games, and Craig has been on Robot Wars a few times, including an Airweight Championship with the Flipperbot Anto. The lifting front snout can help right the machine as well as topple over their opponents. There's also the great ramming power, but the exposed wheels will prove to be an issue.
Robot ears, stand by.
Apollo with the CO2-powered launcher, reigning champions of Anti-Weight Anarchy Series 3, and also reigning champions of Robot Wars Series 8, and Foxic with the lifting snout and great driving power.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Actually has an Anti-Weight Anarchy inspired design called Rusty. I would have loved to have seen Rusty in Robot Wars, truth be told, and up and over, and I think it's already done. I think that lift from Foxic's done something to Apollo. There's some sparks coming from them. Has some... Apollo! Well, interesting. There's the flip. Sending themselves away. And Foxic, right now on top in damage, because there's some major sparks from Apollo. What's been knocked out? Oh! And now Apollo just responding in kind! And it's not even more! Throwing them out the arena! And throwing them on fire! Apollo does a little backflip. Oh, that's brilliant. And now Apollo into the pit. I don't know what you thought was going to happen. I don't know why you did that. But you did. You're not coming out. Not at that angle. I'm not even convinced you have enough power. Lovely. So, Apollo, they've thrown themselves into the pit like a bunch of twonks. And Foxic up and out the... Oh, they've come out! Well done, Apollo! Apollo coming out, but Foxic on fire, immobilized at the arena and out of the competition. Gave quite the scare, Apollo, truth be told. Foxic, they lose, however, they're going home. Next up, Tornado and Bucky the Rebooted. Tornado. Rambot. A 4-wheel drive boxbot running at 36 volts with an interchangeable weapon that can go from a spinning jump to a flail. Even when thrown over, the machine can still be extremely effective at pushing and doing damage. It's a very powerful machine, but there is a ground clearance issue, and the wheels are exposed. Bucky the Rebooted. Control Bot. We saw them in the last battle of the YouTubers, didn't really do all that well. The gnawing, clamping teeth are designed to grab hold of its victims and drag them around and do whatever they want with it, like drop them down the pit. However, it still has the same issues as from before, exposed wheels and lack of rear armor.
Robot ears, stand by.
Tornado with the spinning drum weapon for their attachment this time around, and Bucky the Rebooted with the clamping teeth.
3, 2, 1, activate.
I have to say, Bucky the Rebooted definitely surprised me in Series 3, making the heat final before getting torn apart by Mechavore. Seem to have actually been able to repair all that damage, and actually seem to be causing problems for Tornado as they're able to get underneath Tornado and push him against the wall, which is brilliant. Tornado still coming in on the attack, and they're the only one here with real damaging weaponry. Can Tornado break the weapon of Bucky the Rebooted, I wonder? They're trying. Can they strike the backside? If they stop whacking into the wall, then maybe. But Bucky the Rebooted doing a lot better here than they did in the last battle of the YouTubers competition, where they fell to high AF, don't forget. And Tornado seems to be really struggling here. They're both Actually, their problem is they're stuck in that one corner. They need to get away from the corner, and Tornado just pushes them back in. But now can do some damage. Could that turn the points? And now Bucky the Rebooted, slamming them into the other corner. Is there any way you two can get away from the corners? Perchance. Because seriously, it's limiting what you two can do. Bucky the Rebooted, once again, pinning them against the wall. But they can't, but they let them go. And now the two are free. And now Bucky the Rebooted to push away a tornado! Oh, Bucky the Rebooted! Oh. How do they survive that? Nearly down the pit there. Look at this. A great push, though, for Bucky to push Tornado, but the back wheels over the pit. Just getting away. But can Tornado pull this back, I wonder? They can definitely try and do so! Down the pit! And that's it for Bucky! Bucky the Rebooted, down to the pit and out of the competition! A great fight comes to an end as it's Tornado going through! And Tornado had quite the scare in this battle. Quite the scare. But they've managed to pull it back from the brink of defeat right at the end. Well done, Tornado. A great fight, too. I really liked that. There was real back and forth. Next up, it's Rust and Sting. Rust. Flipper. Rust caused shockwaves during Series 3 by somehow making the Grand Finals, which was quite a surprise given that the Flipper wasn't all that powerful. This time, the Flipper seems much stronger and the armor seems fairly durable, but the gas supply is limited, meaning that once they're turned over, they really will rust. Sting! Thwackbot! All the electronics lie inside the giant wheels to protect them, giving a very small body for weaponry like the giant swinging spiked mace. The entire body also makes it extremely difficult to hit and KO, but again, the giant wheels house the electronics, and said wheels are extremely exposed and vulnerable. And don't get me started on its control.
Roboteers, stand by.
Rust with the CO2-powered Flipper and the surprise package of Anti-Weight Anarchy Series 3 making the Grand Finals, and Sting, the Anti-Weight Anarchy icon, one of the few actually, with the swinging mace.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
And again, control is not its friend. I think it's already lost part of its hub there, as you can see on the floor. Bringing its weapon around on Rust. Not really doing much though. As Rust comes in and flips Sting, and that's a much more powerful and effective flipper than the one from the Anti-Weight Anarchy. And again, throwing them away. Well, you missed that time, so that's your fault. But this is a very good opening move here from Rust. Very impressive. And Sting, I don't think, knows quite how to deal with this. And there, Rust again, another flip, and oh, Sting! Well, down the pit. And it was this flip, really. It sent them backwards, and I think it threw them off a bit. That's why they ended up down the pit. And it's Rust, once again, stunning everyone with a shocking upset as they head on through to round 2. What a surprise! Sting, they're gone. Rust goes through with Smithy, Apollo, and Tornado. That's a surprise in itself. And this is how round 2 looks, with Smithy taking on Apollo and Tornado taking on Rust. But first, we're going to let them unwind and repair whatever they need to as we gear ourselves up for yet another round of the Pinball Warrior Tournament. This should be very, very fun, shouldn't it? The Pinball Warrior Tournament, an event to test the machine's drive and metal and see how it maneuvers across our arena. Here's how to score all those important points. 5 points for each of those barrels knocked over. If you go up and over the ramp, that's 20 points. 50 points if you can hit this target, same as the other target on the other side. 10 points for hitting the multi-ball release. 5 points for each of those balls knocked into a pit. If you can get through the car door, that's 25 points. Another 25 points if you're knocking the big sphere into the pit. And just behind them, another set of barrels, each worth 5 points. Venom still top of the leaderboard with 165 points. Chaos 2 so far last with 110. Still not too bad. What can Competitor 4 do, however? The 2 spinning flywheels of Bonkers. An interesting design, and it definitely does look very bonkers. Lives up to its name. How will it do
Robot is
in
stand
the
by.
Pinball Warrior competition? Oh, against Sergeant Bash too. Well, this should be easy for them, I think.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
With how their front is, it could definitely help. And down goes the sphere, but once again, courtesy of Sergeant Bash! And Bonkers reverses into the barrels at the left corner, but Sergeant Bash is pressurizing on Bonkers, and Bonkers cannot get away. They're trying desperately to get away from Sergeant Bash. Sergeant Bash, however, is not making that easy. Bonkers needs to get away. They're losing valuable time, and now they're stuck on the spikes and are finally away. But that's going to eat up valuable time for them. The 50-point target, that's something at least. They're trying for the multi-ball, but to no success. And this is a problem for Bonkers. I don't think Bonkers will be scoring enough. Down goes some more barrels, and into just about the final target. Oh, a great play to end it, but I don't think that was great enough. I don't really think it was enough to save them. That's mainly because of Sergeant Bash. Whatever highlights there were, this was really it. The barrels, and then Sergeant Bash pressurizing them. And Bonkers could not get away. No matter how hard they tried, they were stuck in there for like a good 20 minutes. Not 20 minutes, 20 seconds. They could not escape Sergeant Bash, and even when they eventually did, they were still stuck by the arena spikes. Hoisting them up finally let them down for lifting up again, but Sergeant Bash and those spikes caused them problems, got the 50-point target, and then they just ran out of time for everything else. Got the barrels, and then the other 50-point target. Just about, but a bit of a disappointing run, to be honest. Though having said that, 150 points, that's a surprise! Given the run we saw, I wasn't expecting that type of run, but there you go! 150 points, they've shot up to second place, so well done, Bonkers! Even after the struggles! That's impressive! Wow, I'm still a little bit in shock of that. Anyway, more pinball later in the series. Let's get back to the walls right now. Later we'll be seeing Tornado and their ramming power up against the Flipper of Rust. But first, Antweight Anarchy champions of Series 1 Smitzy taking on the champions of Series 3 Apollo.
Robot ears, stand by.
Smitzy with the lifting wedge ramming power and the rear flywheel blade, reigning champions of Antweight Anarchy Series 1, and Apollo, reigning champions of Robot Wars Series 8, and Antweight Anarchy Series 3, with the CO2-powered launcher.
2, 1, activate.
Which one of these machines? Well, Apollo already in trouble as they've wheelied onto their backside, and that's going to cause them major problems if Smithy can get them into the pit. What's that that's come off? Was that a wheel? Oh! What's happened to Smithy? They're on fire! There's wheels off of Apollo, but look at this! The flipper of Apollo's hit something in Smithy, and it set it on fire, and it's disabled part of the drive. Now what can Smithy do? They can't drive properly. Apollo, did you seriously just flip yourself out in the arena? Look at this. Flipped away from the spikes and whoop, out they go, out the arena. That's the end of them. That's a surprise. And Smithy just about wins it. But they've got major repair work for themselves out of the pits. Get off the spike. Not much Smithy can really do at this point, apart from throw themselves down the pit. Well, sure, why not? Just throw yourselves down the pits. Doesn't matter though, because Apollo's flipped themselves out of the arena. Love it when that happens. And Smithy goes through. Still don't know why Apollo did that. Trying to get away from the spikes, and it backfired. They're out. Smithy goes through. Next up, Tornado and Rust.
Roboteers, stand by.
Tornado with the front spinning drum and brute force ramming power. And Rust with the CO2 powered flipper, who did brilliantly in that fight against Sting. And once again, need to remind you, pulled a shocking upset in Amway Anarchy Series 3.
2, 1, activate.
Grand finalists of Volume 3 of Amway Anarchy. Although, they seem to be out-pushing Tornado here, and their flipper's up for some reason. I don't know why, but Rust is causing problems for Tornado. Can Tornado get away? I don't think so, because Rust is using that flipper to clamp down on Tornado. But now Rust is stuck. And no! Oh, what happened here? Well, Rust stunned themselves over. Tornado nearly went down the pit. Look at this. There's the flip from Rust. They throw themselves over. Tornado, meanwhile, nearly falling into the pit of oblivion there. They're very lucky to have survived. But now Rust's in trouble on their side, and I don't think can get away, and are now on fire, and are stuck on their side as well, and Rust now up and over, and I think this will be the end for Rust, and it is a shame. I looked forward to seeing what this machine could do through this competition. It did a brilliantly job against Sting, but this is as far as they go here, into the pit. A final nudge from Tornado sees them down and out, on fire. You can fire your flipper as much as you want. You're not coming out. You are gone. And that is such a shame for Rust. Well done to Tornado as they progress through to our Heat 4 Heat Final. Well done to them. Touch and go there, though. It has to be said right at the start. Rust seemed to be having Tornado, out-pushing them, and almost controlling them. That one mistake saw Rust down and out. Tornado victorious. And this is the Heat Final. Tornado taking on Android Anarchy Series 1 champions Smithy. And it'll be a case of who can out-push who in this fight. The Heat Final for TwoPennyMilk, Smithy, and Tornado. This will be a power of the pushers. Interesting Heat Final this should be. Quick recap how they got here. This was Smithy taking on Nexus for the umpteenth time. And it seemed pretty good. That was the only issue. The Stream Mech throwing them up and over, but then the slam here. Off came the wheel for Nexus. And that was the end for Nexus, really. They were gone, and then Apollo did major damage to Smithy despite losing a wheel. Smithy's drive compromised, on fire, but Apollo's drive was also compromised. They only had one wheel left, stuck on the spikes. Get away to fight the flipper, but then the South Rights threw themselves over the wall and out. And that was how Smithy got to the final. This is Tornado. And a very good fight against Bucky the Rebooted, it has to be said. One of the best fights of the heat, in my opinion. And then Tornado ended it with a very skilled push there. And then Rust, the surprise, who managed to outpush Tornado, who got stuck on the pit there. But Rust got stuck on their back, and Tornado took advantage, threw them onto their side, and that was the end of Rust, and another attack for good measure.
Roboteers, stand by.
Smithy with the lifting front wedge and their rear flywheel, and Tornado with the interchangeable weaponry, although for this competition they have only been using their spinning disc.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
It has proven to be effective, although Smithy managing to outpush Tornado once again, and have even thrown Tornado up and over. And that could seriously impede Tornado, and it has done! And they're in the pit! And that's a great victory for Smithy! Down the pit goes Tornado! A good run from Tornado ends here! Well done to Smithy as they climb their way through and reach the semi-finals. They've always crashed out in the death or glory in the main competition, but here, they've finally made it to the semi-finals, and from here on, for Smithy, the sky's the limit. What a quick victory finish by Smithy as Tornado crashes out in pure upset fashion. Well done to the team from cyberspace, and looking forward to seeing how they do in the semis. But until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.